Hello homeschoolers! Welcome to the Land of Kekiak. My name is Laurel. Today I'm going to give a quick overview of what we are using in my rising first graders summer school curriculum. Okay, so this isn't too much different. We just basically are continuing on what we've been using. There's a few things I've added and things that have changed out, but it's the same basic plan, right? So the basis of our homeschool is the Robinson curriculum, but I do have my own kind of notebooking bridge method to get to that more RC pure methodology. So my youngest son, so Bo, he is 6. He will be in first grade this upcoming fall. One of the characteristics of the Robinson curriculum is that it is a year-round homeschool schedule, and in fact they even recommend 6 days a week. I don't do 6 days a week with him, with my youngest. The older two, they're to the point where like if they don't get their work done during the week, they have to finish up whatever they didn't finish on a weekend. If you guys want to see, I do kind of have some strategies and thoughts on routines, building routines, and how much work to assign and what do you think is developmentally appropriate for different stages and what's reasonable to expect out of your kid, and what do you do when they don't meet your expectations. If you'd like to see a video where I kind of organize my thoughts on that stuff and share my opinions, leave me a comment and just say what to assign, and I will make that video for you. Okay, back to Bo, my 6-year-old. So I developed the My First Copybooks series. There are 6 of them. The last one is actually just called the My Last Copybook. So yeah, this notebook could be used for a first or second grader, but we're just using it. I think this is going to be the last one before I switch us over to our first grade curriculum. I'll be making some notebook changes, which you'll see in my next video. Okay, so the idea of the notebooks is that there's a page for every subject that we're doing daily. So I'm going to kind of briefly show you the pages and then what resources I am marrying up with them. Right, there's a place in here I record whatever curriculum we use for the subjects in each one of these notebooks, and I just keep these notebooks. They are great for review. Every time we finish a notebook, we have a little party. So okay, after that, the first pages are their math pages. So I just have some large grid paper in this one, like a two-sided spread, and we do like a variety of activities right now. So the main, like Math Spine is Number Stories Book 2. Where is he in it? He's about, you can see there's my bookmark. He is more than halfway through it. I love the series. We did Book 1. I highly recommend it. You can find books 1 and 2 in the public domain. I think the one that's in a public domain was like a couple years after this one. I think the series, the versions I have are a little bit older, but I looked at them. They look good too. I would use those too. You actually can just print them out and use them at home, which is really neat. I'm like just showing you everything that's in his curriculum basket. So we have an abacus. He uses this almost every day. It's because this has money stuff in it, which he thinks is fun. We've just used real money, like my spare change around the house. I also grabbed a set of US coin stickers. I'll link all these for you just in case you're interested in looking at them. And we've used these in the notebook. So when there's been assignments where they're doing money work, sometimes we will replicate the problems from the book into the notebook, and we'll use these, and he loves using these. I was going to show you an example page where we used them. I just feel like I don't need worksheets when I have this like grid paper. All I need is some colored pencils and my money stickers, and I can pretty much replicate anything that's in the book if I want to translate it onto the page, if I feel like I need to do that. I also sometimes just take a photocopy of something, if there's like a graph or something that they need to refer to in the book itself. I've been known to just take a quick photocopy, have him cut it out and tape it in. So the other thing we've been using this year is my abacus flashcards. There's all these little sets that come with them. And he's been doing 2-digit addition lately. So the idea is, and I've been using these for warm-up, even though he's not quite to 2-digit addition in his book. I think they just started having him add 3 single-digit numbers together. I felt like he was ready, so I went ahead and had him move on to the double-digit. And so what he does is he gets a problem, and he works it on his abacus, and then he flips it over to see if he got it right. So these have been working out really well for warm-ups. Like I might just give him like 3 to 5 to do as a warm-up, and that a lot of times that helps me when I'm doing my ping pong. I'm in my ping pong time of the day. Oh, there's like a hornet outside my window. That helps me during my ping pong homeschool part of the day, where I'm kind of sitting between my 2 younger boys. You know, William's going into 4th grade, Bo's going into 1st grade. So I still am pretty hands-on. I have to help them with certain, check their work and listen to reading and stuff like that. They're both needing explicit instruction at this level. And so sometimes it's like really helpful just to have this to have him work on as a warm-up while I work with his older brother for a little bit, and I can kind of go back and forth. I was like, here's an example where we were using those abacus flashcards for his warm-up. So I just went ahead, I just wrote him out the 3 I wanted him to do real quick, the first 3, and then he's going to write his answer, like what's in the hundreds, how many tens, how many ones. And this is math name and regular name. And I feel like I've talked about this before on the channel. This is a concept I borrow from Right Start Math. So the math name would say for, 121 would be the regular name. The math name is 1 100, 2 tens, 1. So I just give a check mark when he says those at the end. I have him solve it, fill it in, and then we check it, and I do that at the same time. But then that allows me to assess where he's, like, we keep coming back to place value when it's not necessarily always being covered in here. This is a spiral, method. So I'm kind of like, this is having its own little spiral, and then I feel like I'm also on my end doing my own little spiral, like bringing up things that I'm coming back to in the warm-up time that they may not be doing in the book. But it's all working out. It's keeping it in his mind, keeping it going. And I'm only doing, because I think that this is actually like a 2nd grade math book. It's not independent for him. Like his reading level wouldn't quite be there. His reading comprehension wouldn't quite be there. So I am having to read to him things like this. So I'm doing the reading part, have him like follow along with his eyes. We do a lot of him reading like these things to me. Like when it gets to stuff like this, I may tell him to dictate to me, like read to me the problems, and I write them in, and then I give him his notebook back and he solves them. Try to keep him as engaged as possible. I don't want him, it's a real problem when you're like, that you can fall into with notebooking, when if you're doing a lot of the setting up of the pages and stuff, or the writing for them, and they're like having to wait, they just lose interest. So if you can have them dictate things to you to write in, then that's a strategy to keep them engaged. Like something like this lesson, the beanbag game. We actually replicated. We made this game outside with chalk when we went outside and played it that day. But anything like this that I would be reading to them, right? And then maybe we went outside and played. Like I wouldn't necessarily expect them to sit down and like read this and do this all themselves at this age. Maybe a 2nd grader could do that, but because I'm using it with a 6-year-old, it's not. But a lot of times I'm just covering one page at a time, because a lot of times there's these little like number stories right here. These are like word problems. Like I would probably have him do like some abacus warm up, and then I would just read those number story problems to him, and he would just work those. So I probably am doing kind of more like half a lesson a day, working in this with a younger child. Anyways, okay, enough about, this is how we're using this for this summer for math. So after math, this is the like phonogram pages. So because this book was designed to be used with Alpha Phonics. I wanted to have literally all of the phonograms laid out. And how we have been using this is periodically I just do a phonics review with him. And so I'll do it two ways. Sometimes I'm literally pointing to what's on here and seeing how far he can tell me the phonemes associated with it. And sometimes I'm just using the flashcards. Lately I've been using my Phonics Made Plain flashcards, these big ones. And I've just been, I've talked a lot about my McGuffey method because I'm using the McGuffeys now that were past Teach Your Child to Read. We switched over to the McGuffey primer after about halfway through the 100 lessons. And I've just been pulling out what's being covered in the McGuffey lessons. And so sometimes I'm just reviewing them and then I'm marking off in here. I'm kind of keeping that kind of as like in my internal record keeping, and then I'm like recording how many he got right out of how many I tested him on. And he should have all of his just A through Z, right? He already has that. So it's really just on top of that. It's the extra stuff like the digraphs and vowel teams and things like that. A way to sometimes, because that can take a long time. So if I do that, if I'm testing him on that, then we're going to do a really short, like anything else for reading that day. But like a way to keep him engaged was to give him a stamp, and every one that he got right, he got to stamp. And so he really likes doing that, or to put a sticker on it, or let him have, a colored pencil and let him put a star or a smiley face on all the ones that he got right. And then we just circled the ones that I don't know if you can see on this page, I circled the ones that he needed to practice more. And I consider practicing more too if it just takes a really, really long time, or if they like take multiple guesses before they get the right sound. Like it's not just automatically known, that I'm like, those are ones we need to make sure we keep in our review phonics pile that we work into our daily lessons. So yeah, I don't use this page every single day, even though it's in the rotation every single day. So you can use it just whenever you want to. But I just use it as a periodic review and a way to record. You can see that number going up, that he knows more and more phonograms. Okay, so speaking of reading, we are still continuing on McGuffey's Eclectic Primer, the revised edition. I'm obsessed with this series. As you know, I love it. And the pages we have for him are, right, this is kind of more with the reading lesson, like actively doing something, really into phonological and phonemic awareness. We're working on that kind of stuff right now. If I do keep in mind to the science of reading, and I'm not saying I like perfectly use all the principles of the science of reading, but it's like knowledge a working knowledge I have that I do apply to the McGuffey readers as we are going through our lessons. So I am like thinking of things like phonological skills such as word awareness, rhyming, alliteration, syllable awareness, onset and rhyme manipulation, phoneme awareness. I will share with you a link to this. This is maybe a helpful table. If that's something that you're like interested in, but you're not really sure where to start, then this will give you some. I just copied and pasted out of an article onto a Word document. I printed it out for myself. But if you want to, I'll link to the article where I got it from in the description box. But if you want to think like, how can I start? I want the really wholesome and quality writing and like illustrations and the progressive phonemic and the progressive phonics instruction that comes in the McGuffeys. And you're like, I'd like to think a little bit about some phonological skills, and this might help you pick a few activities to work on in your reading lessons. I'm trying to find one. So this is like lesson 22. So we reviewed all of our phonemes that day and the matching phonograms. We did phonograms, we did right and wrong. He got 16 out of 21 on the flashcards. So then I would take the ones that he got wrong and I would use a highlighter to write them in and have him read them again and trace. And O has 4 sounds. That's why you kind of see these 4 marks over here. A, O, U, R, right? I'm having him put in the diacritical marks as well. And then we went through the words. We had some words that had those phonemes, phonograms in them. And I just wrote read and trace. So I just wrote them out. He had to read them and then he had to trace them. And then we did the underlining of those, like highlight, the ng in each. And was it song, sang, and sing, right? And O, I gave him on, go, to, sun, because those are like the 4 sounds of O. In some words I know he can read. R as in R, car, star. Oi, toy, boys, oyster. OU for out as in out, found, and about. So you see we're focusing on the phonogram level there. Then we read, and then I think we read the actual words for his actual lesson that day. And this is just dictation where I read the word and then we counted, we're going to analyze the word. We counted the sounds and made the lines to fill in. And then I dictated to him what to put on each phonogram line. Obviously come is a heart word. So he has a heart for come. So then the next day for that lesson we did, I always record what I did. I always write down everything that we did. I believe these are phonograms from the lesson itself. It wasn't just our review pile. So there was EY, I believe it said A in this lesson, TH, AR, SH, OW, OU, and then the long A, A with the silent E at the end, making the vowel long. So we did student dictation. So student dictation means he actually read the word to me. So he's already read these before. He read them the day before, right? He read them to me and I wrote them down. And then we reviewed the phonograms, or I should say the phonemes, so the V and then A. And we did 2 different colors, right? Heart word. He wrote a big heart on it too. So we just went through putting those phonograms into their words, identifying them in their words. And then we did student, copy work, and phonics underline. So I wrote this, he traced it, he wrote it, he traced it. He traced it, he wrote it, he traced it, right? He did that pattern. And so this is helping his handwriting too, right? He's using my handwriting as a model. And then he went back, and again, so since he'd already seen the underlines, we went over it here. He was able to do it on his own at the word level. Then he would read the lesson to me again. And a lot of times I'm reading the lesson to him as well. He'll read it to me and then I'll read it to him. And he loves to look to see if I make any mistakes and tell me to start over. Because sometimes I'll purposely maybe make a mistake. And then we just did 1 sentence of copy work from the lesson now. I like with this one, this is a good lesson for me to show you because this one he stayed on for a long time. That's what I just love about not having a preset curriculum or a preset language arts. So I love notebooking for this reason, is that you could just stay on the lesson as long as needed until they master it. Okay, so then the next day we dictated this. I dictated words to him. So I said dictate words and he wrote them down. And then we would go back, anything that he didn't get right. I think there was 2. I think he missed come and hour. But we just went back and corrected them. I erased it, don't even leave it on there. We wrote it right. And then we did student dictate. So then he dictated the words to me, right? I wrote them down for his tracing. So dictate and then trace and then fill. So he dictated it to me. He traced it and then he filled in. I put the phoneme blanks, g, a, s. So it's 2 S's, but it's 1 sound. So it's just 1 blank. I'm really setting him up for spelling, right? How to analyze a word and hear the sounds, pull it apart to hear the individual sounds. And then reading, we blend them back together. And then he just did the next sentence, copy work. So I made a note to myself, this day he mastered his lesson. Oh, and of course we're reading, he's reading the lesson to me every day, but the lessons are really short. The passages are really short. I actually wrote down the words from his lesson and then I covered it. We put his bookmark over it. And then I dictated the words to him out of his book. So dictate and check. So this is him, his dictated. He missed come, and hour, right? Because then we took it off and he checked it. Anything he got wrong, I wrote it out for him. He traced it and then he wrote it himself. Yeah, definitely I use highlighters a lot. They're perfect for tracing and stuff because they don't, especially the lighter colored ones, because they don't show through so much on the other side of the paper. Okay, so then to master a lesson, like, so this was pretty short. This was pretty fast warm up, and then he read the lesson and he sounded really good. And then the last day, he had to write the entire thing. He had to copy the whole thing. But there definitely are times, especially with like CVC words, and just where it's really easy to say, okay, this is the word ship. I definitely have had him do practices. So I can change the I to ah. How would you write that? So he ends up writing shop. I'm mostly just trying to give him information and not making him come up with new, information quite yet. I'm really worried. I'm more focused on his recognizing the phonograms and decoding them into their, phonemes, and proper handwriting, forming the letters correctly, and like hearing, just knowing that he's hearing the sounds right and like interpreting the word correctly in his head. Okay, but yeah, if you want this to look at kind of building out a daily routine, this will take you, farther. I forgot to mention some other fun things that I have in his basket that go towards like reading and spelling. So I have his phonics file. This is a printable, and I made it. But this just adds kind of a fun element, like when he's like, it's really the first day that you introduce words, when you're analyzing the word, like if we're going to say the word dog, we'd say, okay, he'd have his little dry erase because it's like, laminate. Maybe I'd have him sound it out, d-og, and he would like put check marks to see how many sounds he's going to represent. And then he would pick the first sound is duh, and he'd find the D's, right, and put it duh, oh, and then g, right, whatever it is. But this is a nice way when you just want to like make things a little bit different, you're still doing the same basic exercises, but just in a different form. This is helpful and just something different. And they always like to see a little burst of color when they open up their file. I'll link to the video where I was making this. Another thing that we've been doing to kind of go along with the whole language arts and reading and spelling and stuff is playing spelling races. I've shared about this before because I've actually been doing it. It's working out our schedule like after lunch. We have like our morning time together, and then we all come together after lunch. We actually just stay at the dining room table, and I have my spelling races game out. I actually got the idea from The Measured Mom because I bought the spell and roll games. This is level 1 CVC, blends, digraphs, and more. Right, so this is to help Bo. I thought this would be a fun way to practice kind of like spelling. I might buy more of hers later. What I really want them for is for her cards that she makes. So she has a bunch of game boards. So because I wanted though to be able to combine more kids at different levels, I needed a longer board. I took her idea and I just made kind of my own version that I called spelling races, but I got the idea from her. And I like The Measured Mom. You should, she's all about science of reading. I've learned a lot of stuff from her too, little tidbits here and there. So our game though that we play is spelling races, and I think this is the longest one. No, wait, this is the longest one. Right. This is the shortest board I have, right? So if I was just playing with Bo, I would just play the shortest one just with him and me or something. But when I want to play his brothers and we want like a longer game, we have like they have longer word lists and stuff. Then we use the longest one. We use the longest one. But what I like this for is everybody has their own words that they're working on. And Bo's, what I've been using with him is her cards from The Measured Mom, from this level 1. I have them all. So I have them all in my laundry sheets. I love my laundry sheets, but another reason I love them is because it's like, it comes in a really convenient little box, the laundry sheets. So I take them out and I have like a tin thing I put them in, but I always keep the box, and I've used it. They're in all my drawers have these. You always need like some kind of little container in your drawers for like little things. Like they're just all over my house in drawers for different catch-all stuff. But I'm using this one for our spelling game. Like this is our William's spelling words from his McGuffey spelling program that he's on. And then Bo is doing the CVCs, and it has all of these. Let's see. It's got short U CVC words, short E, short O, short I, short A, compound words. I'm trying to remember. I gave myself this sign. I think that means like welded sounds. Ung and unk. CCVCC words. Final blends. Initial blends. Floss words. Digraphs and mixed CVC. So right now we're on the mixed CVCs. We've gone through the individual vowels, CVC words. So what they have, let's say this is the mix. Let's look at this one. This is what we're going to use next. Is, you put it down, right? And then they draw their card. So this is a sub. Sometimes I do have to help him decode what the picture is. So we say, oh, sub, and then he'd write out on his board S-U-B, right? Cut, bus. These are all U's. Is there anything? Wait. Okay. Fox. I was like, is there any other ones? That. So that's what he's using for his spelling races. He can also, sometimes I do have him use his McGuffey words that he's been practicing too. But yeah, we are definitely going through those. And I'll probably buy her other levels because they're just working really well. But yeah, I'll link to her YouTube page so you can check her out too. But it's fun to get to. It's not very often that there's a game, because I use those cards, but I use my boards, and then my other two boys is Everett's using his vocabulary words. I use those flashcards, and then William has his spelling words. And it's like just not very often that there's something that ages 6 through 13 that I can bring them together and that they can all play and all be challenged at their own level. So I'm really loving playing that game, and it's a good way to, since everybody likes to play it, it's a good way to get people to come back in from their lunch break. Like, hey, come on, let's play spelling races. Like, everyone just comes. They like it because they're competitive. Bo has won the most times, which is funny. So it's not very often that the youngest gets to beat his older brothers at a game. So yeah, I highly recommend, if you're looking for a spelling game or something, you can use that same idea for like vocabulary words, and get everyone involved. Like, I do have to sit there. It's not independently, because I have to be the ones that's drawing the cards and like reading them their word and checking and stuff. But yeah, it's been really fun to do after lunch, and everyone's getting some review, and it also is a way for me to check their understanding and how it's going, which helps me know what to like plan ahead. Like, we need to work a little bit more on this, or we might need to show them a little of that. You know what I mean? Independent reading is not something that Bo can do really yet. I mean, he looks at books, but he's mostly, I think, just looking at the pictures. But the basis of reading comprehension, like before that comes listening comprehension, and just exposing them to a lot of words and talking, like reading to them. So that's what this page is for. Okay, so we just finished all the Beatrix Potters. We just started moving into my book house book 4. We've read 2 and 3. I think we skipped number 1 because it was just like nursery rhymes. It was kind of too short for what I was doing. So I think we've literally only done 1 lesson so far, 1 story. But to me, it's important that he can sit down and listen and focus. Like, I'm training his self-control here to listen to something. And they do have pretty color illustrations, which color illustrations is, I think, really helpful, especially for the younger ages. But I mean, I still enjoy them. You know, I'm in my 40s. I want color illustrations. And this first one, it was a poem. So there's a mix of like poem and narrations. And that one was pretty short. So if it was like, the next one looking like it's coming up is Cinderella. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 11 pages. Although it's it's got pictures in it. There's the last page. But this is just something that's more on his level. We do family read alouds, but I want something that is really on his level, and that we can have more meaningful discussions with him, that's more meaningful for him. We want to set them up for success. And you know what, I'm gonna find it. I just was listening to, remember how, if you've seen my previous videos, I was talking about my 8th grader and how this summer both of us are we're doing the seminar DVDs of teaching the classic. And Adam Andrews talks about the Socratic list and really how you can apply it to all age levels. Well, I just came across, I just listened to a brief interview he did on the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. I'll find it, I'll link it for you. If you are interested in that teaching the classics, I would recommend listening to this little interview he did. But he talks about how we want to set our kids up for success at every turn, and how he actually thinks like the easier the stories, like the better, because it's like setting them up for a win. Like they're gonna be able to understand it. Like they're gonna be able to, it'll be easier to teach them the elements that you want to teach them. So right now, really for Bo, I've been focusing on through kindergarten, just sequencing, just like what happened first, then what happened at the end. That's been the plot for this notebooking page. Here's one he just did. It was so short. That poem was so short. There wasn't much of a beginning, middle, and end. So he just drew his own picture. There's the caravan. There's some people. And so that's for these. That's the big plot, is just beginning, middle, and end, just like sequencing. But these are really, I think, great we could start introducing more elements off that Socratic list, which I'll talk about more when I talk to you about his first grade, my plan for first grade. So anyways, this is what we'll be going through this summer. Read me a story. And then for his like science/social studies page, it's always just like an open-ended page, and we just put in whatever we were going to put in. I'm going through these books right now. He's on A Nest is Noisy. We're almost done with this one. We just learned about oven birds. Looks like we're going to be talking about alligators next. Talking about different animal nests. And then next we're going to do A Seed is Sleepy. I really like these books. I like that they're hardback, and it's not overwhelming. There's not too much information in them, but really beautiful illustrations. And it just gives me, this is basically like my spine. We're just going for like observational science kind of stuff, nature study kind of stuff, just like learning about the world around us. So like for that day that we did, oven birds, I typically do, what we do is we just open up the book. All of this is just zero prep. There's no prep involved at this level. And I just open up the book, we pick something off the page. Usually there's like more than one animal you could pick from. We read whatever it says about it. Then we go to the computer and I just find like some kind of short YouTube video. There's so much informational stuff about animals, right? So many little clips and things. And then we will usually we will do like a quick Google search. I'll try to find a couple images. And he can. Sometimes we've had him trace stuff. Sometimes he draws stuff. But lately, it seems like what we've just been doing lately is like then finding things online. And then I just copy and paste them into a Word document, print it out, and then he cuts it out and like puts it in. Sometimes we just put like one picture in or whatever, and we might practice labeling, right? Like I might have him do the arrows to something and then I'll write the word. This time we were kind of trying to make a little book. So I did our pictures. I kind of tried to make them the same size. And then you put them backwards. And I wrote South American Oven Birds by Beauregard, right? And then he drew the branch, and he drew the oven bird in its nest. And then that was our first picture. And then we just wrote the words, builds her nest. Sings beautiful songs. Oh yeah, because we looked up, then we found a website that had a bunch of songs by them that we listened to. They sound really pretty. They're really sweet. And and lives in South America. I found this too on them. I mean, this took, no time at all. Like 5 minutes to find like 3 images, paste them in, size them, print them out, and have him cut them out. And then I just wrote this stuff in, and then I did help him tape. Usually I have to kind of hold something, have him put the tape on, I'll kind of hold it in place. We're still building up all those dexterity skills at this age. But now he has his own little flip book, right? His own little book inside. The end. I mean, sometimes I'm writing things in there for him, like what do you remember from the video? What did you learn? And I'll just kind of write it down, because he'll be able to look back at this. Here's one. We did A Nest is Bubbly, right? We did the title. It was these frogs. And then we found like their life cycle. Pretty simple stuff, but he enjoys it. And it makes for a more interesting book to look back on when he's reviewing his own work. 2 other things that are in his basket but I don't really do notebooking with him for, are leading little ones to God. We just like find some time to read this during the day. Since his brothers take so much longer to do their schoolwork, they're older, there's a lot of just in here, just drawing with us, or like he always just finds the most random things and is like building something, and like, gets the tape out. That's one thing I would say. For Christmas, ask family members to buy you tape. My sister-in-law bought this big pack of like colorful, I think it's duct tape, but it's like different colored duct tape. He's obsessed with it. I have to tell him not to put it on like any furniture or walls, because it'll take the paint off. But like we've got like washi tape, scotch tape, duct tape. He's always in here building things with tape. But another thing that we can do if he wants to be in here, but I need him to be not disturbing his other brothers while they're working, is we just will read Leading Little Ones to God. These are just like a devotion for kids. I like it. And then the other thing I bought him, although he hasn't really picked, I think it's in the back of his basket, I don't know if he really sees it, is I have the Learn to Draw Animals. I just stuck something like that back there. I like to have something, like people have, I think William might have done this one. I like to have something, there's like little airplane building, little workbooks that you can get, we've had before. But I feel like that it was a little complicated for him. But they can practice drawing different animals. Anyways, it's good hand-eye coordination practice and stuff they could actually use, like maybe later on in their schoolwork. I just want to know what you drew on yet. So you practice the steps right here, and then you see the steps, then you try it over here. Anyway, so I like that. So that is everything in his basket for summer. Although his math stuff lives on the math shelf, so that doesn't go in his basket. But everything else, and then the spelling stuff, since I use it for everybody, this lives on my desk because I just grab it. But everything else is in his little basket that he just goes and gets it, and then he knows where to put everything back. So I'll show you really quick. So we've got his notebook, his math book, his reading book, our personal read aloud book, his science books, his phonics file, his phonics flashcards, his devotion, and his animal drawing notebook. Here's his pile. Here's everything in his rising first grader basket. All right, I will link everything for you in the description box. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about anything. I'd love to chat. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share this with anybody you think it would be helpful to. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.